Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Hope you're feeling good. Do you know what? I really have not been feeling great this week. Sorry, I jumped straight into that. It's been so gloomy. Like the weather's kind of like warm, but it's like gloomy. And it's like the worst kind of weather because it doesn't motivate me in the slightest. Like I'll be like, yes, got loads to do. And I'll just be like, CBA. So sorry to talk about the weather once again, but I hate doom and gloom. I hate doom and gloom, especially when you know it's supposed to be summer. Like, I can kind of deal with it when you know it's autumn, winter, but when it's summer, you're like, we had such a beautiful June. Why has it got to be rubbish in July? Let's hope August is good, because that would be nice. We'd like that. But yeah, it's not filling me with joy, shall we say, which isn't ideal, but you know, I'm sure a lot of you are feeling the same. I feel very lethargic at the moment. I don't know if it's because I'm kind of working a little bit less at the moment, or if I feel a little bit weird. I don't know how to describe it. But like, even though I'm doing things and I have things and I've had like busy weekends, I feel like I'm not doing anything. It's really strange. I think it's because like in the week, I feel like I'm not excited. It's just like the weekend comes and I do something, and then anyway, that's something for another day. You don't need to hear that. But yeah, I just feel a bit weird at the moment. Is there some planets that are like retrograding or something? Can someone let me know? Because I don't know what's going on. I'm fine. I'm actually fine. I just feel a little bit tired. To be fair, this morning I did have... Do you ever get this where you wake up, but you were just in a quite intensive dream just before you wake up and it makes you 10 times more tired? That happened to me this morning. So that's probably why I feel so tired today. But you know what? Talking of work, I actually... am very much happy that I'm kind of chilled at the moment. A little bit less work, a little bit more, just a little bit of time to, obviously I'm still working, I'm not working, but a little bit more time to enjoy the summer. I feel like this time of year is a little bit quiet work-wise anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. And it's also the perfect time to have a bit of time off. Most people will go on holiday. I am trying to save a bit of money, so no holidays for me right now. But, you know, it's just a nice time to have a bit of time off because the weather is usually good. But yeah, I've made a few plans for August. I've got some nice bits happening in August actually. So I actually have got some good plans and some nice things to do. And it's quite nice to be able to take a couple of days off every now and then just to kind of enjoy those, like the slightly quieter months before it picks back up in September. So I'm very much enjoying it. But talking of work, I wanted to talk about the process of getting a dream job. Now, I am very, very grateful and very lucky that I currently have my dream job. I didn't think it was my dream job to begin with at all. But I'm very grateful that I do a job that I absolutely love, and I wanted to talk about the process of getting a dream job because a lot of people might listen to this, might follow me on social media and think, oh my god, she's got a great life. Like, wow, it took me so long to get to where I am. And I don't like the idea of people thinking maybe like, you know, you got it easy or whatever. Some people do get it easy. And I think that is just life, right? Some people do get the dream job really quickly. Some people don't. Some people have to work like hard for it, and not saying people that get things quickly don't work hard for it, but you have to put a bit more time into it and a little bit more effort. One thing I have found throughout my life is I never ever get something easy. I have to work for it. I've always had to work for things. Throughout school, throughout uni, I had to work so hard because I don't know if anyone else gets this, but my abilities of doing something are very much there. I have the ability to do whatever I want to do, but I always feel like my abilities aren't like the top level. They're like middle to scraping potentially the top, like scraping the top. So whenever I've like, and I'm talking like school and uni here, not necessarily like life, but that's where I've always felt I was. So I've always had to work that little bit more and really, really, really try just to scrape the next level. I always found it difficult. I've always found like schooling and everything like that so difficult because my abilities don't lie within that being tested or being like, what's the word? Like told that's not a good idea or stuff like that. That's not where my abilities lie. My abilities lie within the creativity and creating something. And anyway, like I've always felt like that throughout my whole experience of work and getting my dream job and stuff like that. I've always felt like I've got to work really hard just to get to that point. And once I've got to that point, then I'm at the right place. And yeah, like I felt like this my whole like time I've got through like uni and then into work. So for me, I've always felt like everything that I've done, everything that I work on has been a lot of hard work. And it's been hard work where I've really had to put in the time in order to get to where I am. And still to this day, I put in a lot of time. I'm a very dedicated person. And when I have a dream, when I have a thought, when I have something that I want to happen, I'll make it happen. But these kind of things don't necessarily happen overnight. They happen over time. And I think that a lot of us believe that we can get the dream job or we can do certain things really quickly. But often that isn't the case. There are a few anomalies where people do get a dream job quickly, or they rise to success quickly, or they get what you want really quickly. Sometimes it's about the people you know, sometimes it's by chance, and sometimes it's just pure luck that at that moment in time you got that audition and you became the most famous star. Like it is really, really down to so many different things, and a lot of us believe that or feel that we are not successful because we haven't got that, we haven't had that moment. How many like actors and actresses do you think got like a hit job and became famous and became really known straight away? Most of them didn't. Same with a lot of musicians. So it's a build up of hard work and working towards what you want and what you are striving towards that gets you to where you need to be. Nothing happens without a bit of hard work. And anyone who thinks that you can get where you want to be easy has got the wrong mindset. It's all about putting in the time. I'm a very, very strong believer that if you put in the time and the hard work, you'll get to where you want to be. But you have to put in a bit of hard work. You can't, it takes time. Everything takes time. And I thought I would just talk you through my process of getting to where I am, because then you can put it into a bit of context about how I feel and how my process has been, and I can tell you a bit of truths along the way. So as you guys know, as I mentioned, I went to uni. I studied fashion communication. I loved uni, no regrets. Great course. I really enjoyed it. Would I say it's worth it? Would I say I needed to do that? Not really. But I think at the time of my life and for me to grow confidence and get out of my social anxiety, it was almost like the perfect thing for me at that moment in time. Also, social media was not huge like it is now. So there wasn't a lot of like resources and people giving their like experiences and stuff like that. All you really had was YouTube. You did have Instagram and things like that. Obviously they existed, but it's evolved a lot, in the last 3 or 4 years, and I left uni 7 years ago. So you can imagine it's very different. But I left uni and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I really loved styling, and I had this like idea that I really wanted to have a blog and become like a blogger at the time, because Instagram wasn't really like what you'd call it. It was called a blogger. And so I did have a blog. When I left uni, I started a blog. I actually had a blog before I started uni. And it was like the process of when I got a job after college and I was getting a bit of money, so I was starting to take pictures of my outfits in the garden, literally in the garden. My garden was ratty AF, but I still took pictures in the garden. And I started there, and that was something I always wanted to do. I also had a YouTube channel when I was like 15, 16, but I ended up stopping it which I'm kind of sad about, because someone found out about it and I got really embarrassed, so I stopped doing it. But I was like obsessed at the time with like YouTubers, and I really wanted to do that, but I was like, no, like I didn't have the confidence, so I stopped doing that. Anyway, fast forward to the end of uni, I'd really grown more love for this idea of being able to have a blog, and a lot of the work that we did at uni was like, you'd have to do like a blog on the side of your work, because it was all like digital. Your blog was like your workbook. So I remember we did a project, and a group project, and we had a guest lecturer, God knows what her name was, but she was like, oh my God, your blog was amazing, I'd give you a job from that. And that was what told me, that was I clung on to that little bit of information, and that is what pushed me to creating my own blog, working on my Instagram, doing all those things, because someone told me that it was good. And if someone tells you, that's not in your close knit, that someone outside of what you're doing that doesn't know you tells you that, yeah, you're good at that, or yeah, you could do that, that is something that's so valuable, and also something that would give you a lot of drive, because you're like, okay, well, the close vicinity, clearly, you know, they have their particular thoughts and feelings on either the person or your work or whatever. Someone outside of that can give you a little bit of inspiration. They don't know who you are, so they're coming at it completely fresh. And it gave me that boost to be like, okay, like she said I was really good at, like my blog was really good, so I'm going to continue with this. Granted, I'm not the best writer, I'm not the best, like, you know, person to put those kind of things into words and talk about fashion, but I love doing what I do. I love talking about fashion, so it almost seemed like the right thing to do. Anyway, left uni and I started doing my blog and my Instagram all the time. Like I was posting pictures all the time. I can't really remember how many days I was posting. If I was posting every day, I can't really remember. It was a long time ago. And I started doing that, and I started just working on it. And then obviously that was like on the side, and I was looking for a job. I kid you not, I tried to find what I would call in quotation marks, a proper job for so long. I went for interviews, I applied for a lot of things, no one wanted me. I genuinely was so lost when I left uni. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do styling because I enjoyed doing that for myself. And I also liked social media, but like getting into those things were really difficult. So I actually went for an interview. No, not an interview. What do you call it? A trial day at an internship. I did do an internship the previous summer for a PR company. Quite enjoyed it. So that was an option, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I went for this internship test day at a magazine. And I hated every single minute of it. As soon as I got there, I was waiting for about 2 hours before they even spoke to me. Then as soon as they did speak to me, I got shoved in this small cupboard with this other girl who was clearly an intern, who was like a budding stylist. Like she really was like working hard to be a stylist, and I could see that. And I just got shoved in a sample cupboard and then was taking samples back to places. Bearing in mind, I don't know where I was going. I barely knew London at the time, and I was like traipsing across London to take samples back, and I was like, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this. This is not a job that I don't love this enough to do this kind of job. Like I'm not doing an internship like this for the sake of, like, there's no reason for me to do this. So I didn't go back after that. So that almost told me, no, styling isn't for you. Like that's not going to work. Then I was like, right, well, I need to get some sort of fashion job because I want to work in fashion. So I worked in retail. I worked in Topshop. I did a sales assistant job for like a year, and then in the same store I worked as a visual merchandiser, which I loved. Like if there was development to that job and doing it like that, I would have completely stayed. I mean, I didn't really feel like doing it as a, like, you know, a proper job was like something I could do at the time. It wasn't my goal. It wasn't my thought process. My goal was to do my social media and become an Instagrammer. That was my goal. Be a blogger at that point, because I'd worked so hard on it and I was like, this is what I want. But at the same time, I was like, I still need a proper job. So then after that, I realized that there was a job going at Topshop head office. And I ended up working in the Topshop head office social media team. which was so interesting, but I hated every minute of it. I think I was 3 months in and I was like, get me out of it. I hated it. It was just, I felt like a minion of the team. I didn't feel like I was valued as much as I could have been, especially considering I did a lot of work. And I just felt like I didn't have the skills. I was there because like, it was like, obviously I had some sort of skills, but I wasn't as good as everyone else. And my thoughts were never as important because I was an assistant. And an assistant is not knowledgeable, apparently. Anyway, so I worked there for about 9 months to a year. And then I left. And that was when I took the plunge at going full time with Instagram. Now, over these years, when I worked for Topshop head office, I was 24. So it took me from the moment of leaving uni, I was 21, left uni. I didn't get a proper job that would be classed as a good paid job until I was 24. It took me 3 or 4 years to find a proper job. And I say proper job in quotation marks because people don't perceive certain jobs to be proper jobs. Anyway, so I finally got this proper job, and it was horrible. And also I wasn't paid enough because I was on 21k. So that's that. I'm going to give you that because I feel like everyone should know that is not enough to be paid. I was paid 21k. The girl that was also doing the same job as me was paid 3 grand more than me. So that was fun. And I just hated it. It was horrible. And like the money was getting me nothing. I had to commute in every day because I couldn't afford to live in London with that amount of money. And yeah, it wasn't my thing. I realised in that moment in time working in a social media team, whilst I loved knowing the background of Topshop and the information and how the samples they would get in and what was coming in, because I love Topshop as a brand, I didn't enjoy my job. And it made me realise how much I loved working in social media for myself versus working in social media for a brand. Like, it was just so intense and I just didn't love it. Anyway, yeah, so then I took the plunge and did social media full time, but it was kind of just by coincidence. I actually moved to Amsterdam for a year. That's a story for another day. And I was like, well, I'll try Instagram, see if I earn enough money. I had obviously savings and stuff. And if it's not doing well, I'll just get a job. And it ended up being okay. So that was when I started my journey of doing social media as my job. Now, would I say that was when I got my dream job? No. And whilst it kind of sounds like it is, because that's always what I wanted to do, I was not earning a lot of money. It was my job. I loved it, but I wasn't earning a lot of money. I was still in the process of becoming this like person who was doing well. I still had to learn a lot about myself earning money from this, because I didn't earn any money from it before this moment. I actually happened to have signed with my management at the time, so it all kind of worked out perfectly, but I wouldn't say I had got my dream job at that moment. It was still like I was a few like roles away from getting to my top role. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I think I would say I felt the most successful and that I had achieved my dream job when I was 26. 26 is when I would say I got my dream job. I'm 28 now. So I've only really had my dream job properly for 2 years, like properly feeling like, oh my God, this job is amazing, for the last 2 years. Don't get me wrong. The years before that, I still was working hard and I still had the dream job and I was like amazed that I was doing it. But it was still a learning process. It was still like, I wasn't quite at the point where I felt like, yeah, I'm doing this. It was a bit like, God, I don't know. It's going well. Like where's it going? Like now I feel like, yeah, I'm doing it. And this is the reason why I wanted to talk about like getting a dream job and stuff, is because a lot of people leave uni and they believe they should get a really good job straight away, or they should be at a certain age and they should get a dream job and they'll do really well. Now, every job is different. Every job takes a bit of time. If you want to work in a creative industry, it's a process. And I don't think people really talk about that, because people assume that you come out of uni, you get a job, woo. But actually, the process of a creative job especially is long, and it is often about the people you know, unfortunately. If you're working in, like, I don't know, finance, or you're working in like science or something like that, it's a little bit more straightforward, because you know, you have the skills, the knowledge, etc., to go into those areas. Life is different that way. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very different. Whereas with creativity and things like that, it's a lot of opinion based, because whether you think it's your opinion or not, everything has an opinion, right? With like how, like this vase, for example, these squares, like someone has to decide the design of it, someone has to okay the design of it. It has to be, there's an opinion of whether that looks good or not. So it's the same with like most creative jobs. There's always an opinion. There's always, is that good enough? Is that I don't know how, like that's not quite right. When I worked at Topshop, the amount of times that like the men would think they knew what girls were wearing, what girls liked, and I was like, you're literally 60. I don't think you really know what a 17, 18-year-old girl is going to be wanting to wear. So yeah, it's one of those things that dream jobs don't happen quickly, and really take a step back. Like if you're at the point where you think, oh, nowhere near my dream job, take a step back, look at your journey so far. Because most of the time, your journey isn't going to have been like, oh, like I got this job and I'm doing this job. Most people have done like multiple different things to get to where they are. Like I did not get my dream job. I didn't do this until I was 24. That was when 24 was when I got my proper job. Did I get my dream job? No. Probably wasn't till, you know, like 25, 26 when I was in my dream job that I was like, whoa, I've got my dream job. So take a step back and look at it, because often, you know, that is something you really have to realize. Like, okay, actually, like for instance, my friend Tia, she's a bit younger than me, and she mentioned to me about how, you know, she felt a little bit like, oh, she's not getting anywhere. And I was like, when I was your age, I was working in retail. I was earning, at one point, I was earning £600 a month max. And that wasn't really, and obviously paying for like phone bill and things like that, I really didn't have a lot of money left over. Luckily, my parents didn't make me pay rent, so I'm very grateful for that. But I wasn't earning a lot of money at the age of 22. Way less than 21k, that's for sure. So when you take a step back and look at it, a lot of you are probably in a good position. Not the best position, no, but a good position. And that is the most important thing. And if you are 30 and you still not got your dream job, that's okay. I don't know why we live in this society where we believe that you should have your dream job at the age of 30. Some people don't get their dream job until they're 50, 60, 70. So why are we just like sticking it to the age of 30? There's so much more life to live past that. Why wouldn't you just keep working at it and get to where you need to go? I mean, I know I'm speaking from someone who is young and has got a dream job young, but at the same time, like, even if I didn't, I'd still be working hard. I'm still working hard now. I'm still working on things now that hasn't got me to where I want to be yet. Like, there's still so much more for me to like build upon and grow from and do better. I don't know why you don't have to be 30 and have your dream job. Like, you really don't. There are so many years to build upon and get your dream job. I think also it's circumstantial, right? So for me, my job really suits me at this moment in time. Like, what I'm doing really suits me. It suits where I'm at, what I'm doing, etc., etc. Some people might find that their dream job, or the job that they're destined to have, is to be, I don't know, let's say an interior designer. But that's just not something that right now you can do, because maybe you rent a flat, you can't really do interior design quite how you want to. But come 35, 40, when you've had kids and you have a bit more money maybe, and you want to start a business, there's your time, and that's when you get your dream job. But that's not something you can necessarily get young, because maybe you don't have the money. There's a lot of things that do involve having a bit more money to get you to where you need to be. Like if you want to start a business, sometimes you need a bit of extra money. Therefore, you need to work in a job that maybe just pays well but isn't your favorite job to get to where you want to be. Sometimes you have to do shit jobs, and that is something that everyone needs to know when it comes to finding a dream job. You have to sometimes do a shit job. You have to. I've been through a few shit jobs before I got to this point, and wouldn't say I had a good time. Wouldn't say I earned a lot of money. I was in a grateful position and a very good position that my parents, didn't make me pay rent. But God, if I had, I wouldn't have had any money, because I didn't earn a lot, and I was trying. Like, that's what's annoying, and that's what's something I totally understand, is that most of you are probably trying. You're all trying. Everyone's trying. My sister, I totally get it. Like, I see it from her point of view. Like, she's trying to get a new job, but she cannot find something, and she's really trying. And I totally get it, and I totally understand that it is a process, and it's hard work, and it is hard work. But just have to know that it is hard work, and you have to understand that it's a process, and you will get there. You just have to go through the process of doing shit jobs and not being quite at the right job yet, but you will get there. Unfortunately, to get to where you want to be, you have to do shit jobs and shit roles that aren't quite what you want, just to get to the place you need to be. Sometimes, like I said before, it happens by chance, and you meet someone and they give you a job and it all works. I remember when I worked at Topshop, when I was a visual merchandiser, so I would have been around the age of 22, 23. And this girl who was also a visual merchandiser, she very quickly got a job at ASOS. And I was like, what the fuck? How did she do that? Turns out that her mum knew someone who worked at ASOS. And I was like, oh, that's why. And like, don't get me wrong. I think if you've got connections, use them. Use them. If you know someone who can get you a job somewhere, use it. Like, really do use it. It's just a bit shit when you're someone who doesn't know anyone, because you do then have to do the long process of keep working through it. But I guess that's why networking is always good. If you're really, really trying to pursue something and you want to get a bit further along, networking is really, really good, which is why I still network with my job now. I love meeting new people. I love meeting people that work for different brands. I love like getting my name out there, but also showing my personality a bit and connecting with people. And that's something I think is so nice, because often people will like you a little bit more, or think about you for certain things if you've had a good conversation, or they know your personality, or they feel like you're a good vibe. Do you know what I mean? I think it does kind of work out. But in terms of how I feel about now I have my dream job, I would say that I genuinely feel so good. I'm so grateful that I'm here. I'm so grateful that I get to do this, and I'm grateful that through the years of doing this, I've developed and learnt new things and figured out where I sit within this industry. And starting this podcast, like, I would never have done this had I not had a bit of time to get into the job that I love and find new areas to add to. Like, the reason why I do this is because I love chatting to you guys, and I love giving my advice and helping anyone out that I can, because I've been through things and I don't want anyone to feel like I got it easy, because I didn't. I worked really hard to get here. At one point I didn't do anything on the weekends. There was a whole year I basically worked on Instagram on my weekends, and I didn't really have a life. And now I have a bit more of a life, because I can relax a little bit, because I have a job that I love, and I've worked to the point where I feel really good that I'm here and happy that I'm here. But I did work a lot, and I didn't have a life. And I'm not saying to people, like, to get your dream job you have to not have a life, but if you really want something, you have to put in the work. And I think that it's very easy to give up, like, if you want something, you give up. You're like, oh, it's not getting there quick, you give up. But if you really, really, really want something, if you really want a job, if you really want to get somewhere, you need to put in the hard work. And sometimes that does mean you have to cut out social things. You have to cut out things that you really want to do just to kind of get yourself a bit further ahead. Now, I'm not saying that you have to cut out everything. I'm also not saying that you have to have no social life. But there are times when hard work can really help boost you. And if you've got the opportunity and the bit of time to do so, then use it. There's so much time out there if you just use your time wisely. I'm not saying that we all have like stupid amounts of time, because often we don't, but if you've got little bits of time that you can just use to boost you or help you, like maybe you need to do like a qualification for the job that you want to get, spend a little bit of time in the evenings, maybe just block out the odd Sunday here and there, work on those things. Sometimes it's just putting in a bit of extra hard work that will help you get to that point a little bit quicker. And I mean, it's easier said than done, I know, but that's just something I think is important to know. Like, I did it at the right time. I was quite young. I could get away with just not having a life, really. Now I would feel a bit guilty if I spent a lot of time like working on other things and not really seeing my friends. But that's just from personal growth, I guess. But other things that you can do, I guess this is a little bit of job advice for you all if you're looking or working towards your dream job. First one is keeping working towards it. That makes no sense. Keep working towards it. Just keep going. If you're feeling like it's a bit of a lull, it's not really getting there, just keep going. You will get there. It will get to the point where you'll be like, whoa, oh my God, I'm doing this. This is so cool. Keep working on it. If you give up, you're letting your brain win. You're letting your subconscious, is it your subconscious or your conscious? I don't know. You're letting it win. No. You're going to get to where you want to be. You just got to keep going. Things take time. There's one thing I remember, I think it was Jamie Lang. He was talking about candy kittens. And he was saying how when he started candy kittens, I think he said it was like 3 years before he started making any sort of profit. Or something like that. It took him a bit of time. And I was like, oh my God, that it put things into perspective, because I was like, it makes so much sense. Nothing is you're not necessarily going to make money straight away. You're not going to get there straight away. But if you keep working on it and you keep working towards it, you're going to get to where you want to be. But sometimes it just takes a bit of like a few shit years or a few like really sloggy months, a really sloggy couple of years. And then you start seeing benefits from it. Hard work will show benefits when you keep working at it. Does that make sense? I think so. Good things take time, as I just said. When you want something and when you're working towards something, the good things will come. But it just takes time. And I think that is the big key word here. Time. Things take time. We're so wrapped up in things happening quickly that when things take a long time, we don't want to do it. We don't see the benefits of it, because we can tap something so quickly on our phone. We can, order Deliveroo. We can download something. We can like something so quickly that when something doesn't come quickly, we feel like we haven't got it. It's not good. It's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. So I think one of the most important things to take away from this is that things take time. And when you get there, you'll be grateful that you had all that time to work on it, to build on it, to discover new things, to learn new things along the way. I spent so much time on my Instagram, on my blog. Blog doesn't exist anymore. But before I got to where I am, and I'm still now, am I learning more and more things and developing what I want to be and the person I want to be and where I want to go. The last one is to remember not to judge other people's journeys and not compare your journey to someone else's. Everyone's journey to their dream job is going to be different. We're all different. We're all in different wavelengths. We know different people. We want slightly different jobs. Like, it is hard and very easy to compare against people, and it's hard to sit there and just see people do well when you're like, oh my God, I'm trying really hard. But often it's just they got there at the right time, they're doing something that's really good, or their creativity, their artwork is really good, and that's got them to that point. There are so many things that can skyrocket someone, but don't compare your journey to someone else's, because your journey is your journey, and that's what makes it so special, is that you are you and you're on your own path. And it's kind of like you need to tunnel vision yourself and focus on what you're doing. Obviously you're going to have friends and people being like, oh, I've got this job, oh my god, wow. And like, it's so exciting for everyone to get the job they want to get, but remember that your job and the job you want will come about, and you'll be so grateful when it arrives, and you'll be like, oh my god, I'm glad I just stuck with that for a little bit longer because it got me to here. And that is the main thing. Like, the job I hated when I worked at Topshop, don't get me wrong, I loved learning about the brand, but there was a lot of things that made the company not so great, which we all know. And I wanted to leave after 3 months. I then was like, I'm going to wait till 6 months to find a new job. And then there were moments when it got a bit better, so I was like, oh, whatever. And then it got to the point towards the end where I was like, I had to go to the toilet to calm myself down, because I was getting so riled up about the way people were talking to me. And it was like breaking point with them when I left. And I pushed myself as far as I could before I was like, enough. I'm not doing this anymore. And I left, and it worked out. But that was a journey I had to go on, and the journey of me and them moving to Amsterdam and all these things have been journeys that I've had to go on personally, as well as in my career. And I think the same goes for everyone else. Everyone's on their own little journeys, everyone's on their own little pathways. Sometimes you have to deal with some personal things before you then realize, actually no, I want to do this job. Or maybe you have to go through a few different jobs to realize, actually I like the first job, or actually I'm going to start my own business, or actually, do you know what, none of this is working for me, I don't like this, I'm going to go do something else. You have to go on your own journey to get there. But remember that everyone starts at different points, everyone does things at different points, and everyone has time and energy that they put into things, and some people put a bit more energy and more time into it, and some people don't. And it's really however you see fit. But also remember that everyone is different and everyone's going at their own pace. Someone could have started an Instagram and whatnot same time as me, but I could have got further than them, and that's not because I'm any better or anything like that. That's just where my journey took me, and that's just how it worked out for me. Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean to say that other person isn't successful, because they probably are. Everyone is successful in their own right. It just depends what you see as success. I don't think, for me, I felt successful until I was about 26. As I said before, 26. I think that was when I felt successful, and I was like, oh my god, I'm actually doing a really good job here. Like, this is really working out for me. And like, that is so exciting. I genuinely am so grateful that at 26 I could say that I got to where I wanted to be. But I'm still learning, and there's still so much more for me to pursue, especially with this podcast. Like, this is probably my baby. It's my new little thing. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do. I love sitting here and chatting and having a conversation with you guys, even though you're not talking to me, but you're listening. And I love that. And I love the fact that so many of you listen. It's so nice to see more people listening, people sending me messages. I really, really do appreciate it. I can't express to you how much I love that you guys message me and make me feel like I'm actually doing a good job, because this is a long process. And as I've said before in previous episodes, I see this podcast being something big. I see it being something really successful. But I know it's not happening overnight. It's a process, and I'm totally okay with that. I enjoy sitting here, I enjoy chatting, and I enjoy having these moments, but it's going to be a process. And I think I would feel so much more happy knowing that I worked hard and I built an audience, and I got to somewhere that I always knew I would be, but it just took a bit of time. And I'm not saying if you get there quick that you didn't work hard on it at all, but I think for me that would make me feel quite good. I've only been doing this for like a year and a half or something like that, a year and a bit. So yeah, it's a process, and I'm obviously doing this fully on my own. So it is a slow process, but I'm grateful that I'm here, and I'm grateful for everyone who's listening, and I'm grateful for all the new people that I've introduced myself to, if you will, because all of you listening, you wouldn't have known who I was, and you wouldn't necessarily be interested in someone's fashion, but you're interested in me chatting about life things. And I love that, because like, it's like, this is something I love to do. Like whenever someone comes to me with a dilemma or they have an issue, I'm like, right, let me think logically here. Let me help you out. And that's all I want to do. So anyway, yeah, the podcast is the next step of my dream job, because I would love to have a successful podcast, and I hope that that's where it goes. So that is my next step. That's my next dream job, if you will. I've got a good job now, but the next step of my dream job is the podcast. So yeah, but I just wanted to chat to you guys about this, because I think that it's easy to think people got it quickly, or they didn't, spend a lot of time on it, and they haven't spent years working at it. And believe you me, getting to where I've wanted to be has taken so long. And I only moved to London when I was 25, and a lot of people are younger living in London. Like, you're successful if you lived in London before then. Like, it was a slow process for me. And even when I moved to London, I was a bit worried about like paying rent and things like that, but it's all good. We're all good. But remember, you still have time to find your dream job. You've still got time to work on your dream job, and you've still got time to figure out what your dream job is. Because believe you me, when I was younger, I used to want to be a fashion designer. Went to uni, realised actually fashion design isn't for me. I still love designing clothes, but making clothes is not for me. And I completely changed the journey of where I was going. But I always wanted to be a fashion designer, and I do hope one day that I can achieve that dream. But it's not my top dream anymore. So things change, and it's okay if things change. But remember, you've still got time to find your dream job. As I said before, you've still got time to let things change. I'm going to love you and leave you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Do follow the podcast Instagram, which is Still Got Time Podcast, and the TikTok, which is also Still Got Time Podcast. You can follow me. I am Charlotte Olivia is my Instagram name. You can watch my YouTube. There's so many things to learn about me. If you want to learn about me and fashion and things like that, or if you just want to follow the podcast, please do give the podcast a rating, a 5-star rating if you can. I'd very much appreciate it. You don't have to give it 5 stars. You can give it whatever stars you want, but I very much appreciate if you could rate the podcast. That would mean a lot to me. But yeah, anyway, I am actually going to go now. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.